A lot of you have seen this image, which looks like that when you first download it, then you have to click it to zoom it in. And it's supposed to be an iceberg or a hierarchical list of information you're supposed to look up that goes from surface, easily accessed, to ridiculously deep down into the bottom of the ocean, seemingly, for weird subject matter. And usually an iceberg is another word for a rabbit hole of subject matter, where you start at the surface and then it becomes endless because, if you're not aware of it, some collections of rabbits will have tunnels that link to each other that create an almost deliberate endless loop that you can get lost in. Now, this one is the rabbit hole iceberg, which almost sounds like a redundant statement because most icebergs are rabbit holes. So this would be the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. The rabbit holes of memes and video games and TV movies and SCP Foundation that turns into, in and of itself, a rabbit hole, going down to the bottom where you're looking at more and more weird stuff, where it's stuff you may have never heard of and probably haven't. And it just keeps going on and on. This would be the meta rabbit hole. Now, the thing is, this is a picture. Most of you are seeing it as a picture in a YouTube video, or maybe somebody posted it as a meme in and of itself. This is a self-referencing infinite loop, tunnel, rabbit hole, etc. So here we are. Now let's go look it up by cleaning it up. This is me running it in 16 color mode to show something about this image. Now, obviously, it made things much more stark and harder to view in the background, but it might, or it should have, improved the ability to read this. Now, I'm going to be zooming in on some of the letters and numbers here for a specific reason. Now, I tried to turn this into 16 color because you can use software to manipulate it, to turn it to black and white, increase the contrast, and make it to where you can read it easier for people who are visually impaired. You can also use a similar process as the beginning stages to have a computer or specifically an artificial intelligence utility try to read the page. Now, there's a very good reason some people will put up an image on the internet and make it impossible for a computer program to read it at all. They don't want it to be read because they don't want that image to be viewable by a computer because they're trying to hide it from an algorithm or, like YouTube flagging things. But the other reason a person will do it is so that you can't read it as easily, or they're being lazy, or they're obsessed with using Photoshop, or they're trying to make it to where not just a computer can't read it, but we can't make a copy of it or an archive of it. Now, obviously, this is just a picture, and if you're not aware of it, it's a screenshot from a web page I'm going to show you in a minute. But you can notice here that there's a lot of grayscaling going on. Each of the colors could just be a color wrapped in a block of black outlining without a drop shadow that would make it to where it was easier to read. If you're not aware of it, one of the memes on the internet is, let's say you take any background. It doesn't matter what it is. And if you just do two colors, one on the inside and one as the border for every letter and number, it makes it to where it's easy to read no matter what the background. That's the idea. The other reason you do it is it makes it easier for a computer routine to read it. But that seems to have been defeated here. Again, if I go here to this thing here that's full color, it seems, it's really easy for you and I to read, but it's hard for computers to read. Now, that may be on purpose. Okay, fine. But it's just a picture. How are we supposed to get the data? Well, I have to sit there and manually type it in. Sounds like busy work. So I wanted to get rid of it, so I did the 16 color conversion trick, and I did it intelligently, and I also did dumb mode. It still turned out crap. Now, I do know how to clean it up, but the point is, unless you know how to clean it up and know exactly what you're doing, this makes it really hard to retrieve data. Anyway, at the bottom of the picture, if you're not aware of it, way down here, it says it's from icebergcharts.com, and it has a background. If you're not aware of it, the guy who made the new background for it, with 666 entries in the year 2022. The reason for somebody making a new background is the meme and the artwork for iceberg that's used for these kind of things is copywritten, so they have to avoid a copyright strike on their own website. Now, let's go to Rabbit Holes Iceberg, the website, icebergcharts.com/i/rabbit holes. It's the same one, and obviously I'm looking at it at a different resolution than the original. It aimed in furries and steamed hams. Over here we have this. So let's try forcing it to change shape. There. Now I've got it to where it's about the same size or the same ratio as was the screenshot that was used. That should line up a lot better. So let's go all the way down here and line that up like that. And bring this down and line that up. We should see Dream SMP in the lower right, and we do. So now I've got it zoomed in enough that we've got it working. But the difference between this picture that I screwed up and this picture that it started off is that we can hover over it, and about half of these or more are going to be links that go to a page, like an Encyclopedia Dramatica page or a Wikipedia page. And also, we can highlight them or copy and paste them so we can go look them up and make a text file. That's all I wanted, right? Okay, cool. But I know better than to use a web resource without making an archive of it. And obviously, this picture isn't good enough. So I decided, okay, I'll just click my little highlight link to archive it through archive.org and another one for Archive Today. Yeah. Let's go back a notch. Most of the archives on archive.org are blank. Or they say the page wasn't there. Or they say forbidden or whatever. Now this one should load, but we don't know if it'll load. Let's see what happens. Change the background color. It's ugly. That's great. Of course, it was Halloween, so that's why. If you're not aware of the next part of this video, now again, the first part is providing information on the internet, but making it a real pain in the ass for us to look up. Remember, it's called a rabbit hole because it's an endless, daunting task to go look up stuff to try to get to the end of it or to get to some conclusion. And it's called a iceberg because the same thing. But no, that's not enough of a memetic meme about memes that are memetic. Let's make it to where we can't archive it so that we can make a static copy so it never goes away. And let's make it to where, even if we did, it'll turn to shit. So here's where I did it through a different method. This is Google's cache of it, and it did make a decent enough copy. It's actually not complete. A lot of it's here, but not all of it. But, okay, that's at least a little better, but it includes the comment section it didn't need, but it's trying. But when I try to archive it through archive.org, it's blank. The website is telling archive.org to deliberately screw it up, or it has a bunch of sabotage code in it. If you're not aware of what I'm talking about here, a website, Wayback Machine, archive.org, their entire purpose on this planet is to make backup copies of websites, but they haven't updated their software to make it to where they can be useful. Or they're deliberately doing it for legal reasons because it makes lawyers happy. Again, most of you and I, use archivers to catch people doing something. Like we see them on Twitter, they're doing something illegal or they're doing something terrifying or they're harassing us. We archive their shit to where they can't get away with it, right? But every archiver now fails to work on Twitter. Kind of defeats the purpose of archiving something, doesn't it? Screenshots don't count. Archives are admissible in court. So a bunch of companies tell archivers, you're not allowed to archive, which means us wanting to be a whistleblower, us want to do something, can't do it. Now the thing is, archive.org and Archive Today didn't start doing this lawyer compliance until very, very recently. But archive.org retroactively kills off the data. So what I'm talking about here is two things, really. Again, two things and then the third, okay? First one is, I'm trying to look up something, and then we see here it's designed to make it almost impossible to really find it, even though the website shouldn't have let that happen by even grabbing a screen grab. And then the website turns out to either be doing crash code, or it's the Wayback Machine, archive.org, retroactively helping them redact, which is something that's against the whole point of archiving. And Archive Today is doing the same thing. Now here we have Google Cache that's doing a fantastic job grabbing the data. And by itself as a cache, it would be great. So I tried archiving it. Because you can archive a Google Cache, and that'll sometimes clean up the garbage. I also tried it through Archive Today. So this is the best I could do. this is the iceberg charts, blah, 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 stripped as pure text through Google Cache, and then I tried archiving it. And this is just as shitty as what I was looking at through Google Cache. It has almost no data. A pure text version of this website should be the listing I was looking up. It should be just a list of all of these words. But when we try to do Google Cache, that's fine. But when we try to do the text only, Google Cache fucks it up. It starts including, comment strings and data that gets spit out because reasons. Maybe it turned off JavaScript. Okay, there's another one called view source. Let's look at that. And again, I'm archiving this archive of an archive. It doesn't show anything. It's garbage. Okay, let's look here. This is archive today, and these two here are the ones I tried to make today. And right there, that's the other one that was done through me grabbing it through archiving probably the Google Cache of it, but I'm not sure. I have to read it. Yeah, it's the web cache, and it was able to archive that. That's about as good as it could do. But that's just as bad as it did in 2021 when someone did it. It's not able to grab all the data. Okay, so again, A, archive today is deliberately playing dead so they can avoid a lawsuit. B, rabbit holes page on iceberg charts contains crash code. Same thing that would affect archive.org. Yeah, but the whole point of archive today is it was supposed to do a better job. Then we get over here. Excuse me. Yeah, so let's review. Google can see it. Google Cache can cache it and gets a good clean copy. But I'm not allowed to archive it because for some reason it'll screw it up somehow. And some of the web pages are supposed to make copies, so we have a gotcha, so we have a backup copy, so it can't hide stuff. Some of them don't work. And it's either done deliberately by the website, Iceberg Charts, deliberately done by the archiver, like archive.org and the Wayback Machine, or Archive Today, because they're trying to comply with lawyerisms. C, it's both of them. K, I don't know. You get the idea, right? So that's kind of where I am at. I'm not seeing that this becomes a rabbit hole in and of itself. The fact that the internet used to be so that no matter what you posted, you could say it'll never be erased because someone will make a copy of it, and, as I used to say, and it's admissible in court, versus looking at it right now, it seems like all of the places we used to use to be able to submit to the police department, or at least point out to our viewers, all of our archives are now being shit on purpose. And it's kind of ironic and sad that the best copy of it is just to use the web cache on Google. Google makes a better archiver than the archivers. So anyway, back to it. If you want to go read this, you have to manually type in icebergcharts.com, rabbit holes, and you'll find it. And you can go click this and go through it. I had a suggestion from someone that maybe I should do that because it would provide me, quote, no end of crap to post. I think they were being ironic or being insulting, but hey, I'm all for it. So I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. Maybe not. So yeah, I've actually done all of those. I'm the Marianas Trench of iceberg rabbit holes. No. Maybe I'll add it to the titles of the videos. Anyway, as I was saying, when archives don't get archived, and when it looks like it's done on purpose because the website is playing dead, and when the website you're using to look up your rabbit holes ends up being a rabbit hole of it stopping those archives, it just brings up more questions than anything. And yeah, maybe, no, really, seriously, I did a video on every one of these things in the bottom layer.